Hey everybody, I'm Josh DeBord and I am a professional podcaster, and this is DeBord. Hey everybody, it is Tuesday once again. I am Josh DeBord, the host, and I'm joined by Daniel Bakley of Cage My IQ, the Academy Award-winning Stand Your Ground. How's it going, Bakley?
It's going good now that I'm home.
Dude, yeah, I know you had car trouble earlier. It's not the kind of weather to really be having that
No.
in right now. But I want to thank everybody that tuned in. What's up, Joe? Before we get going, I want to thank our buddies over at manscaped.com. Use promo code DB2020. You get 20% off. You'll see the shirt Bakley's wearing. Listen, if you're like Bakley and you're stuck out in the cold, it might be nice to have some hairy balls. But if you don't, and you shouldn't because your woman's not going to like that, check out our friends over at Manscaped. Yep, absolutely. 20% off. Promo code will be going across the bottom throughout this whole episode. Use promo code DB2020. Get something nice for your loved one for Christmas. It is that time of year. I know that because I spent way too much money over Black Friday weekend. Bakley, how was your Thanksgiving?
It was good. It was good. It was very festive. Went to my sister's house, ate, watched the 2 games I won instead of the 3, and then had an early night.
Yeah, so let's segue right into that. You said 2 games instead of 3. So let's jump right in. I'll get your opinion first. So the Baltimore Ravens and the Pittsburgh Steelers were supposed to play Thanksgiving night at 8:30. It got moved because a bunch of the Ravens got COVID. And then they moved it to Sunday at 1. Then more Ravens got COVID. So they moved it to Monday. Then more Ravens got COVID. Then Steelers got COVID. Then vice versa. Now it's tomorrow at 3 o'clock. So what is your opinion on how the NFL has handled COVID-19 so far?
I feel like the NFL has handled it well for what it is. I think the teams, on the other hand, aren't handling it as good as the league is. The league put out stern rules to follow, and because they want to try and get this done, they did the opt-in for players. If they want to play, opt in. If they want to opt out, that's fine because of everything going on. But it seems like a lot of the players aren't treating it as well. You hear guys still going out without masks. You got the coaches were getting in trouble because they're on the field with no masks on. And it's just like a clusterfuck between all of them. And I think the organizations can do a better job at handling it and making sure that their players are up to date. They know what they need to do. Don't go out. Just stay quarantined. Because once you opt in, that means you want to play. So that means you need to follow the rules. And the NFL is doing as much of a job as they can. That's why they put all the rules in. And it's just that's why they're trying to negate everything and narrowing around the schedule, making it more flexible now.
Yeah, I'm sick of the players complaining. I really am. And I'm sick of the Steelers mainly complaining. First off, yes, they've got screwed a couple times. Got a few comments. Yeah, Chuck, it's sports. Chuck's specialty. What's up, Joe? Chuck, when aren't you drunk? Tyler Peters, what's up, buddy? And there's your boy Benison. What's up, Benison? Benison covers you and Benison cover the other kind of football. The one that's not
across
real.
The pond.
Yeah. So anyway, I'm sick of the Steelers complaining. Like you said, I agree with you for the most part. Rules are put in place. They've even altered them as the COVID-19 spread gets worse around the world. They're doing everything they can to move him. That's why they increased the practice squad. The Steelers fans and players that are complaining that they're not canceling games will ask the New England Patriots how they feel, because 2 of their losses this year probably were caused by COVID. They lost Cam Newton against Kansas City. Did the NFL postpone it? Absolutely not. It's 2 huge teams. It's a big game. It's going to get a big rating, and it did. So they moved it to Monday, and New England had to play with Brian Hoyer, who works at Dairy Queen, I think now, at quarterback. And then they lost Cam Newton for 2 weeks, and they had to play Denver, which, speaking of Denver, how is it fair that they had to play a 4th-string practice squad quarterback? Right, the guy was a wide receiver, but he was playing quarterback he was 1 of 13 for 12 yards. But like, why didn't they cancel that game? I mean, you're not going to cancel games.
Apparently, he was the 5th string because the 4th string
That's terrible.
Had to wait 2 weeks once he signed, and then he wasn't to that point. So they were kind of forced to use Hitton and then form as like the backup.
Well, yeah, you want to talk unfair. They couldn't bring in a quarterback if they felt like it, because you'd have to bring them in. They'd have to go through the COVID testing. They'd have to go through this, that, and the other, and there's no way they could have got somebody in. They were talking about they had an offensive coach that asked the NFL if he could play, because he played quarterback in college, and the NFL's like, no. So I don't want to hear anybody else. They're not going to cancel games unless it's a life or death situation. Is it fair? I know our boy Drew over at Game Winning Drive posted that earlier. It's absolutely fair. They knew the rules going into this. They knew. I mean, they knew this season was going to be difficult. They knew players were going to get COVID. They took the precautions for it. The teams are not following the rules. The Saints have lost a draft pick. John Gruden and the Raiders have been fined many times at this point. Man up, get over it. I mean, it is what it is. This is the season you have. But you see teams like the Chiefs and the Packers. How many players you seen missing games because of COVID? They're taking the right precautions. They're being smart. They know we can win the championship. Let's not be idiots. And you got the Ravens with coaches coming in with symptoms when they should be staying at home. I think the NFL's handling it exactly the way they said they would, and I have no issues with how they're handling it so far. Pittsburgh fans, you're 10-0. I mean, you're going to lose in like the first round of the playoffs anyway, so keep your bitching for then. Don't do it now. And Aaron, appreciate you tuning in, bro. He agrees 100%. I mean, they told you it was going to be hard. It is what it is. Speaking of that game, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, luckily for them, that they get like an extra 6 days, and then for the Ravens, it worked out to where they get Dobbins and Ingram back. But then for the Steelers, they kind of get extra rest. Like, they don't have to play, even with the pushback, they still have like 5 or 6 days before the game against the Washington Football Club. But just like you said, they're 10-0. Like, they still get the regular rest. It kind of hurts the Ravens more, but then they might get Jackson back by Tuesday when they play against the Cowboys. My
dad's a Cowboys fan, so he's like, hopefully Lamar's still out. He's like, I hope nothing happens to the guy, but I just don't want him to play. Truesdale's a Steelers fan. I can respect that. And I'm not taking a personal jab at you when I say Steelers fans are babies, but out of my personal experience, I live in Ohio. There's a lot more Steelers fans I feel here than Cincinnati or Browns fans, and they are babies, and it is terrible. I've almost gotten a fight with quite a few in my life. Bakley, so this is a Steelers win, no? Or do you think RG3 can work some magic tomorrow?
It's a Steelers win because you got no Lamar, you got no Mark Andrews, who was his go-to guy.
He's diabetic as well.
I think Boyle is still hurt, who was their
He broke his leg. He's on IR.
Yeah. So that was their backup tight end. So they're down, and Trace McSorley, their backup quarterback, has COVID. So they're basically down to RG3 throwing it to the wide receivers, and then he does get the running game going, but without that effect of Lamar Jackson being able to do the QB draws. You don't know how RG3 is with how his injuries have been.
You're going to have to run the same offense. I mean, RG3 can run, just obviously not as effective as Lamar Jackson. You're going to see a heavy dose of Ingram and Dobbins. Oh, dude, Truesdale. I live in Ohio too. All right. I can appreciate that. And you know my pain, dude. I swear to God.
Yeah. But then you got the Steelers, who they won't be with James Conner, but I can see a lot of Benny Snell running up the
But
middle
that's
and
it,
then
right? Isn't that the only
trying
player they're missing?
just Conner and I think an offensive lineman, but they
They'll be
still have
fine. The
Big Ben.
Steelers' offensive line's ridiculous.
But they still got Big Ben. They got the wide
Yeah,
receivers.
the wide receiving core.
Yeah.
Pittsburgh will run away with this. And on my picks last week, for you guys that tuned in, I'm changing it. I picked Baltimore to upset. I changed it to Pittsburgh as soon as I knew that 25,000 Ravens had COVID. So I'm taking that win tomorrow.
I think 27-7. That's what I'm going to predict.
Yeah, I'm thinking it's going to be a blowout myself. So let's go. Speaking of something that was almost a blowout, so let me take the lead on this one because I have strong feelings on this. I watch this game with my dad like I do every Sunday. I'm a diehard Patriots fan. I have Tom Brady stuff all over my house.
Yeah.
No to it either. Yeah, you guys will still handle him though, Aaron. You guys will beat him easily, I think. Is Tom Brady holding back the Tampa Bay Buccaneers? Chuck, it's a good question. We grew up in Big Ben went to college across the street from where I went to high school when I was in high school, so it was kind of weird. But anyway, back to Tom Brady. Is he holding back Tampa Bay? He's not. Bruce Arians is. And I knew this was going to come because if you look logically, people look at the NFL like it's Madden. Like, oh my God, Brady's got Gronk and Brown and Evans and Godwin and Scotty Miller, and they got Tyler Johnson, who I think is going to be a damn good slot receiver. They got him in like the 4th round. They're loaded. Well, first off, team chemistry is important. Second off, coach and player chemistry is important, especially at the quarterback position. So what has Bruce Arians done all year? He's took subtle shots at Tom Brady. Subtle shot. Yeah, he misread the coverage. He did this. There's not a coverage that an NFL coach can throw at Tom Brady that he has not seen at this point. Bruce Arians, so last year when they had Jameis Winston, they averaged like 32 passes a game. Tom Brady's not throwing the ball 30. He should not be throwing the ball 32 times a game anymore, especially down the field. Everybody's like, Brady's deep ball is dead, is died down. It's been dead for 5 years. What do you think he dinks and dunks to Julian Edelman, Danny Amendola, Wes Welker? New England, the reason Belichick's the greatest coach in NFL history is because he adjusts to his personnel. He knows Tom Brady can't throw deep. And every year, Bakley, how many analysts say, well, the Patriots should trade for a deep threat? I never understood why. So Brady can throw it up to get intercepted. They need slot guys. Look at Edelman, Welker, Amendola. I mean, they just recycle through the guys. Who's the guy? Remember Austin Collie? I mean, they just pull people off the street, and it works. Gunnar Olszewski, Jacoby Meyer. I mean, N'Keal Harry plays like he came from the street.
Dante Stallworth.
I mean, they fix. So Bruce Arians has Tom Brady throwing the ball 50 times a game. No wonder they're getting behind. You have a running back in Ronald Jones, who I think is a really good back, by the way. You have a two-headed monster with him and Leonard Fournette. You could be feeding. They have a two-headed monster. The only two running backs I think are better is Cleveland's 2 running backs. You could feed Fournette and Jones 20 carries each, take the pressure off Tom Brady, open up play action, spread that shit out, let him dissect you with all his weapons because you're not covering Brown, Godwin, Evans, Gronk, and Cameron Brate or Tyler Johnson or Scotty Miller. Scotty Miller is probably the best. He loves Mike Evans, obviously. You see the chemistry. But Scotty Miller is if you threw Scotty Miller on the Patriots 5 years ago, he'd be their top receiver. You know what I mean? Like, he has the body type. He's a short little. Here's what I think's going to happen, Bakley. I think Brady, how his contract is he can opt out, as in it's a player option for year 2. I think if Bruce Arians does not get removed, I know Brady loves Byron Leftwich, but if this keeps coming, Brady does not like being criticized. That's why he's been crying the last few years in New England, because he's been getting bad and Belichick doesn't hold any punches. I think Brady's going to opt out and go to New Orleans as long as Drew Brees retires, because Tom Brady was going to New Orleans this year if Drew Brees retired last year. When Drew Brees came back, obviously that took it off the table. That's where he wanted to go. He said in an interview a few weeks ago that's where he intended to look into first. Michael Thomas is there. Jared Cook's there. Alvin Kamara, talk about somebody take the load off. I think Tampa Bay's playing a very dangerous game here because if Tom Brady opts out and leaves, Gronk's going to retire. Sure, you still got Evans and Godwin, but you're in the same position except you don't have Jameis Winston no more. and you're basically you threw everything in your hat for 1 year, and then you're going to fall apart. Because I guarantee you, Brady's not going to sit there and take this criticism. He'll be professional throughout the year, but when it's over, he'll bounce. There's going to be 10 teams still calling him after this year.
Yeah, just like you said, like a few years ago when they won the Super Bowl against the Rams, what did they do? They ran the ball with Sony Michel. Like they didn't do it too much in the regular season, but once they got into the playoffs, it was a heavy dose of him and a lot of slant routes to Edelman, just getting and then to the tight end, just getting everybody involved. You don't have to take the deep shot all the time. He doesn't need the arm for that. He just needs to do the dink and dunk, a short 10 to 20-yard passes, feed the ball to Ronald Jones and then Leonard Fournette, because Ronald Jones has been hot the past few weeks.
He's top 5 in rushing. I didn't know he was ranked. He's a top 5 in rushing. And a few weeks ago, he had, 200 and something yards rushing? He had like a 99-yard touchdown run.
But with Bruce Arians, it's my same thought about with him as I am with Mike McCarthy. They don't know when to run and when to pass.
That's fair.
And Tom Brady, that they put out that Tom Brady's been calling the plays. He might be audible and out of the plays, but Bruce Arians still has a lot of say in the offense and the game plan. And Brian Leftwich, I like him. He's just doing what he's told to do. He adds a little bit of creation into the plays that he's supposed to do, getting everybody involved. That's why Ronald Jones is getting involved, because he had a lot of say in that. But to say that this is all Tom Brady because of his arm is crazy. Another thing to blame with how the Bucs have been doing has been the game plan on defense. Tyreek Hill had 200 yards and 2 yards and 2 touchdowns in the first quarter. And
so basically, when a let me ask you. So we're just guys sitting on the couch. We're not professional podcasters or nothing. If you have a receiver that catches 4 passes for 107 yards in like 7 minutes, what would you do for the rest of that game?
I put the safety right over top of him. So you got the corner covering him, and then you got the safety right behind him. So if he gets beat, you at least have the safety there. At this
poor
point,
Archie lost his fantasy football game basically to Tyreek Hill because he had 50-something points because Tampa Bay kept putting poor number 24 out there. Carlton Davis, I think, just kept getting roasted. Nobody's covering Tyreek Hill one-on-one except for Jonathan Jones. I have no idea why he always covers him well, but he does. I have no idea why, though.
You got to let Holman beat you. If he beats you, it's okay, because then you at least said you shut down Tyreek Hill. But they just played single coverage on across the field. He beat them. Kelsey beat them, which Kelsey beating them wasn't too bad because at that point they were already getting torched by Hill. So then they were already behind. They did keep it a little bit close at the end.
They got back
in. But still, they fell behind really bad early just because of the defensive game plan. You got to be able to lock him up after the first touchdown. You're like, oh, he beat him badly. Okay, put the safety on him, and then figure something out from there on out. But make sure he's not beating you like he did then. But they didn't do that.
The debate where people are like, does Brady need Belichick? Do you think Brady misses those halftime adjustments that Belichick always makes to where, oh, wait, Tyreek Hill burned us for 120. Tyreek Hill has 1 catch the next half. Those are the things that people forget that Belichick and Brady were so – dude, it's 50-50. I've watched South 6. They need each other. And they need each other. Belichick's defense – keeps them in every game. They've always had a very good scoring defense. They've always give up tons of yards. They're the bend and don't break, right? That's what they've always been.
Yeah.
They'll let you get to the 20, but you're kicking a field goal or taking the ball away. He's missing Belichick.
Belichick will be the guy. And then Belichick will be the guy that'll be like, yeah, you're struggling right now. Let's feed the rock to the running back, take it off of you, and as he progresses, then you start mixing in the play action and then getting your tight end and your slot guy involved. Because he has 2 good tight ends. It's just that.
And they can block. I don't know why they're not pounding the ball. I don't know why they're not pounding the ball up the middle. They're going into a bye week. So we'll see if they. I wonder if Byron Leftwich gets more play calling duties coming in after the bye. This would be the time to make that move.
Yeah, one game there'll be 200 yards rushing. The next there'll be like 30. It's no consistency.
Yeah, there's not. And that leads me to my next question. So the Cleveland Browns. So they are the epitome of the two-headed monster. They have the best two-headed monster with now healthy Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt, who Kareem Hunt signed a very reasonable deal with him this year. I think he's got 3 more years, $10 million. So they're going to have this two-headed monster for a while. So this team, to me, is very dependent on on the play calling. They have to feed the ball. Baker has to live and die off of play action. He can't be back there chucking the ball 40 times or else he's going to make mistakes. How they're now 8-3. How legit, how real do you think the Cleveland Browns are this year?
Well, they're 8-3, and I think they're legit. It's just people were saying, well, they had hiccups like a couple of weeks ago, and I think that was a product of not having Chubb there for 4 or 5 weeks, and then they could have still ran it heavy, but then you kind of have to game plan around that where you shuffle in passes, and it's not going to be the same. Whereas with having a two-headed monster, you can legitimately have them both in the backfield. And Kareem Hunt's more of a pass catching threat than he is a runner. He still can run, but it's more pass catching. It's
surprising because he's so big. Like it's crazy that he can catch passes. He's like 235. That's a big dude catching passes out of the backfield running at you.
And then Nick Chubb is more of the pure power runner, and he's a beast. So you combine them together. What they've done well with both of them is controlling the clock and then just doing long drives. And it's allowed Baker Mayfield to limit his mistakes, do a little bit of play action, and then he's not forced to have to do anything. He's more of a game, like it's more so Ryan Tannehill last year, where he's more of a game manager, and then he just had to make a play here and there with the offense that he had. But it all starts with their offensive line, which have been really good this year, and then
they did a great job building that. They did a great job building that up last year. Hey, Cincinnati. Do you see what Cleveland did? Their line was a problem. They addressed it, and guess what? Their franchise quarterback is not out for 2 years with a severe knee injury. Yeah. Take note.
Yeah, and then you can upset a couple teams in the playoffs just by controlling the clock, and then running it, and then scoring points that way. And then every now and then you mix in, like I said, the play action, and then they have 2 decent tight ends on that team, and Jarvis Landry, who does the slant routes well. Like, you get a perfect matchup for them in the first round. It'll sit well with them with teams that don't stop the run well. But they've showed that they can do it. Yeah, they've had a easier schedule than some others, but you don't get to 8-3 by getting lucky every game. You do it because of your game plan, and Kevin Stefanski has done a great job.
He's done great. He's
coaching, and then game plan around his strengths, which is the offensive line and running back.
Damn. Hey, Bakley, so this would be something's got to give, because the 2 teams that choke in the playoffs would be playing each other in the first round if the season. It'd be the Bills and the Browns. They tie and both get eliminated. They both get eliminated somehow because they both are straight garbage when playoff. That's when Josh Allen forgets which team he plays for, and that's when Baker thinks he has to throw the ball 50 times.
And then another thing I didn't even bring up is their defense. Cleveland has a really good defense, and then the past 2 weeks they've won without Myles Garrett, who's just a machine. Otherwise, Aaron Donald, he's the best defensive player. I would have to put Myles Garrett up there behind him because of how he disrupts the line. He's just a beast, and then you can't stop him.
He's back this week as well.
Yes,
I'm not as optimistic as you. No, it's the Cleveland Browns. The only game this year they played that was really relevant, they played the Steelers. And that didn't work out very well. So that's what the Browns are to me until I see them not lay an egg like that. Anytime they play very good competition, they get annihilated. They almost lost to Dallas. Pittsburgh beat them 38-7. They barely beat the Bengals twice. They beat Houston 10-7. They barely beat your Eagles. They barely beat Jacksonville this past week. They got beat 38-6 by the Ravens. They lose. And almost there's not one game on their schedule that they won with ease. Like I said, the Colts are a good team. Cowboys are terrible. Washington's not good. The Bengals are definitely not good. Your Eagles are struggling. I mean,
Yeah.
I think they're bounced. If they play Buffalo, I think Buffalo blows them out. And you know how I feel about Josh Allen.
But that's the thing with running the ball. It's going to be like that, just like the Titans. The Titans were the same way last year, except for that crazy fluke win they had against the Chiefs in
that's
week
what
12.
worries me.
Yeah.
If they play a team that comes out and scores early, and and you eliminate that being able to run the ball.
Yeah.
Because even though they should, because I've seen a lot of teams like Dallas, for instance, they'll be running the ball well, but they'll get down 14 and they'll stop because it's like we have to catch up. Stick with your game plan. You probably can get back in it. That's what I worry about. Plus, there's years and years and years of embarrassment behind the Cleveland Browns to make me not very I don't trust them. I need to see it to believe it with Cleveland. I won't ever believe Cleveland's going to do anything until I see it. Same with my Cavs. I didn't believe we was going to win the championship till we actually did it.
That's why I said if they are able to control the time of possession, that would be in their favor. But if they can't, then they really have no shot. They need to control the time and then be able to run the ball, which they've been able to do all year.
A couple of quick notes that just came across. The Washington Steelers game next week got moved from Sunday, December 6th to Monday, December 7th. The Cowboys-Ravens game got moved from Thursday night to Sunday night. They got moved
Tuesday.
to Monday. They're now moved to Tuesday. And the San Francisco 49ers will play their next two games in rival Arizona Stadium. So that's going to be interesting. It's like New England having to go play in that shithole Jet Stadium.
Yeah, because of St. Clair has declared no sports in their county, so they're forced to not be able to play there for the next month. So luckily for them, they reached a deal with the Arizona Cardinals organization where they're able to play there for the next couple of home games, which is at least nice because it benefits both sides. Because at
least they'll get to play.
Yeah,
it'll be interesting. Speaking of Arizona, Cam Newton, we got to talk about it. I have talked about his future with New England is a hot topic right now. 9 of 18 last week. 80-something yards. He didn't throw the ball away through 2 interceptions, but he made the play at the end where on 3rd and 13, he faked it, held on to it, got around the outside, dumbass on the Cardinals lowered, hit him head-to-head out of bounds, got 15. Nick Folk kicks a field goal. New England's playoff hopes are legitimately about this much. But what do you think his future holds in New England, or do you think this is a one and done for Cam?
This is one and done. He hasn't played consistently all year. They've kind of had to hold it up without him because of his mistakes that he constantly makes. He can't throw the ball well. He turns the ball over way too much for a Patriots team coached by Bill Belichick. It would just be a better job to draft a guy early. I told you this earlier this week. If they're able to get like an early second and he fell to him, or the pick was later in the first round, I would definitely look at Kyle Trask of Florida. He's kind of the mold of Tom Brady, where the throwing wise, and he's really well going to the tight ends, which he had no production from the tight ends this year. And I think it's because of Cam Newton. You would think that they would try to get them involved because they drafted a couple and then they already had a couple on the roster, but it's like teams don't have the game plan for that now, so you just game plan for the wide receivers. I do like Jacoby Myers. He's shown flashes. Demir Bird has been decent. He had that nice touchdown against the Texans. And then the running game has been hot and cold because of injuries. Yeah. But it all goes to Cam Newton, and I think he hasn't done enough. Like, they got lucky that they won this game, and then the week before they did good besides of him, and then they lost to the Texans because the Texans were able to beat them. It's just, I think it's a little too much for Bill Belichick to handle, and I think he'll cut the ties at the end of the year and then draft somebody that he can mold.
I think it's going to depend. I don't think Bill Belichick at like 137 years old is ready to start a rookie quarterback. He doesn't have time to develop a rookie quarterback. That's the only thing. Like, my ideal draft would be getting your boys out in Florida, both of them, Pitts and the quarterback. I want both.
Easily.
That solves two problems. I'd trade Gilmore, get a first out of them. If they don't want to give up a first, trade another player, get somebody's first-round pick, leave the draft with those two guys, add some defensive depth, go and spend some of your $100 million, get some playmakers. I honestly think Belichick's going to go in this offseason. Quarterbacks available. Is Matt Ryan actually going to be available? Is Matthew Stafford going to be available? Is Jimmy Garoppolo actually going to get cut? I think he actually will. I think Garoppolo would be realistic for them to go after because Belichick famously wanted to trade Tom Brady to the 49ers to keep Jimmy Garoppolo, right? So there's going to be options. I don't think this will derail them from drafting a guy, but I don't think he's going to start a rookie next year unless if he gets Trevor Lawrence or Justin Fields, he might. But we're not going to be drafting that high. You got the Jets and the Jaguars who's been tanking for 2 years now. But
I honestly think Bill Belichick won't be there, honestly, with how it's been going. I think that they because they have Josh McDaniels, I think McDaniels might put his say into it, knowing that they have that agreement that he would take over. I think he might be like, either you go or I go because I'm ready to be coach. And then if you make this any worse and then you keep somebody when I could have drafted somebody to mold and you could have just signed a stopgap quarterback, then that would have worked.
I think Cam will be back, and I think he's going to be the stopgap. I mean, his stats are terrible, but you have to look at him with context. I've watched every game. I've seen every snap the guy's played. There's been 3 games this year where he's been absolutely phenomenal. He's looked great against Seattle. He looked great against Miami. The Chiefs game, I honestly still to this day think we would have beat them if he would have been playing instead of being out for COVID. Then that week we played Denver where we didn't have any practice time. He was coming off COVID. Speaking of a person that had COVID, it's not just something when it ends, it doesn't mean it's over. Like, oh, you're good, ready to go. It takes a couple weeks to get back and get ready, especially to play football. I just had to get ready to go to work, like a desk job. So I could imagine going out there, preparing for an opponent with no practice time. So, I mean, New England could easily be 7-4 right now instead of 5-6. Yeah. So I think if you go into this offseason, right, they're probably not going to have a first-round pick high enough to take one of these guys. And if they do, they get a Trey Lance or somebody like that falls that's going to take probably a year to sit. You keep Cam on another 1-year deal. You bump his pay a little bit. I mean, the guy does deserve more than $1 million. And you get him some weapons. You get some of these 8 guys that opted out last year or for this year, right? Hightower, Chung. I mean, they lost tons of talent that opted out. Tons of players out with injury. Edelman hasn't played. Now he has COVID when he was about to come back. He's went out there. The reason the tight ends don't catch the balls because they suck. Ryan Izzo's their best tight end. He has 2 catches this year because he's primarily a blocker. Both the rookies we drafted are both on IR. Sonny Michel's been on IR. Damian Harris, like you said, has been hot and cold. James White has had that unfortunate personal issue early in the year, missed a few games. And he's kind of been there. They're adjusting their whole team on the fly. No training camp. They signed Cam super late, too. I think they'll give him a 1-year team option, too, and I think he's going to be the bridge. And I think they're going to draft somebody, put him on the bench, have Cam be the guy, keep Stidham as the third quarterback because he's cheap. He was a 4th-round pick. Hoyer's going to retire and start full-time at Dairy Queen, and then the Patriots, and that's what they're going to do. They're going to try to give Cam some weapons. They're going to have $80 to $90 million in salary cap room. The rumor is that Dante Hightower and Patrick Chung might retire. So there's about $15 million more to spend because we got Kyle Duggar, who looks really good, our 2nd-round pick from this year, and Jamar Bentley, the linebacker. Then you got my dude Uche from Michigan finally making an impact. And you got Winovich filling up the stat column. So their defense is a lot younger than it was. And Belichick could have around $100 million to spend, 8 to 9 picks in the first 3 rounds because they always get those 3rd-round picks from all the players that leave. Van Noy, they'll get a pick. Brady, they'll get a pick. All these players they lose every year. I think they can build it back up quickly. You see all the nice things that they say about Cam. Belichick loves him. McDaniels loves him. There's something there. I feel like Bill really thinks this will work because if he didn't, Bill would have already benched a quarterback who has 4 touchdowns and 10 interceptions on a season. It's week 12 now, or about to be week 13. But he also has like 10 rushing touchdowns. So, I mean, balance it out. It's been a hell of a year.
He just needs to stop making all those turnovers and mistakes. That's what's killing him.
I don't know if it's as much. I don't know. It's hard for me to hate on the guy. You see all the same. They won the game, and he's apologizing to Josh McDaniels last week. Like, it's hard for me not to like the guy. He's got a great attitude. He's been nothing but a great teammate and player in person since he's been on New England. I hope he comes back. I hope he ends this year on fire. We got the Chargers this week. Shout out to my boy Drew from Game Winning Driving to Blitz. We're going to beat that ass this week, keep our playoff hopes alive. And I'm going to beat you in fantasy, even though I got the bye already, so it doesn't matter. But I'm not tanking. I'm still winning. Get it? Tanking. Anyway. Boy. Yes, I had a couple texts. Merch is in. Can you get one? No, you can't. It's just for me. But yeah, if you guys are interested in merch, definitely go to follow us at What the Buzz. So WTB at WTB.com. That's our Facebook handle. Same shows, better platform. Go there on Facebook. Go there on Twitter. Follow us on Instagram. You can find it in the info for this show. And you can find it on this very, very well put together, convenient video we just have to have as I'm plugging all the socials.
Get the Lambo car, house in the hills with the stars. Told you I'd raise the bar, told you that I'd go far. Baby, it's crystal clear. I'm not a souvenir. I'm not an accessory. I'm a necessity. So come and check me out now. I'm a necessity. So come and check me out now.
What a segue. And there was all the socials again. Check us out there for sure. Somebody's laughing. I don't know who it is. Anyway, Bakley, it's that time of the week. Week 13 picks. So I'm already claiming that I have Pittsburgh winning. So I'm 109, 66, and 1 this year. Last year, I finished 10 games under 500. So I'm on a much better pace this year. So let's go to week 13 picks. No Thursday night game, as we talked about earlier. That was supposed to be Dallas and Baltimore, which is good because my dad's a Cowboy fan, and he was not going to be able to watch the game because he has to work on Friday morning really early. But now it's moved to like Tuesday at 8:30, so I don't think it's any better. But this is going to be an interesting – I think this game's going to be close. I watched Taysom Hill struggled to throw they're winning, but they beat the crap out of Denver, right? But he did not throw the ball well, and Denver had a fifth string wide receiver playing quarterback kind of thing going on. I got New Orleans, but Bakley, let me ask you, what's your thoughts on Taysom Hill? Does he look like somebody that you would trust to give the franchise to when Drew Brees retires?
He did well in the game against Atlanta 2 weeks ago, but I don't think he's done any better. I think they've dumbed down the offense a lot to where it's a lot of short reads, just putting it up to get Thomas involved, get the running game, and a lot of quarterback draws and quarterback boots to the outside so he can make his own decisions on it, whether to throw or whether to run the ball. But I honestly would have went with Winston over him a couple weeks ago because he has the arm. He's thrown interceptions, but apparently he had the eye surgery, and he's on a completely different team, which where he can game plan differently. And he has a better coach with him. Like, knocking around Winston was the interceptions and turnovers, but you got to remember he was in the league for 4 or 5 years, and each year he had a different offensive coordinator. Yep. This guy's been there for over 10 years, and he knows what he's doing. He's going to get him to get it to Thomas, get it to Cook, feed Kamara, get it to Kamara on the wheel routes on the inside. It's going to make it easy for him to get the ball to the playmakers. And right now, Hill is having trouble passing the ball. Yeah, he had 2 rushing touchdowns. But it's like when they get close, he's good, but when they're farther away, you can't count him to throw the long ball. I remember him doing it a couple weeks ago against Atlanta. He threw a long ball to Thomas, and he threw it like 5 or 10 yards short. But luckily for them, Thomas ran back and got it because it was in the air for so long. Then that would have been intercepted if Atlanta was smart enough to get to it. So Winston would have been a better thing, but it'll remain to be seen how he does this week. But I still have the Saints win, but I think it's going to be closer than people think.
9 of 16 for 78 yards and a pick is what Taysom Hill threw last week. Give me a second. I'll tell you what he did the week before because I know it wasn't a hell of a lot better because he struggled the whole first half of that game. My little sister, shout out to Yvonne, co-host on Regularly Scheduled Hostilities. She's a diehard Saints fan, but, it was Atlanta because they're doing that whole stupid 2 games in 3 weeks thing. He was 18 of 23. It wasn't bad stat-wise, but obviously put context on it. They didn't score a damn point until almost halftime. That's the Saints. They normally score.
What was his total passing yards?
233.
And the one play
he has 397 yards in 2 games.
And that one play I was just talking about was a 65-yard pass.
Yeah, so like I said, put a little context on it. It's not promising. And he had 48 yards going into those games as well. He threw 2 24-yard passes against Tampa Bay a couple weeks ago when they were just playing with him because they won 38-3. So New Orleans, Taysom Hill's not your guy. And remember this, I don't know what episode this is on because Matt Hardy deleted all my content, but save this one because when Tom Brady's playing for New Orleans next year, you heard it here first. This, to me, is the game of the week. I had no idea this was coming up, but this is a huge game for both teams. You have Tennessee coming off the Derrick Henry show where he ran for, 154 yards in the first half. And then you have the Browns. We talked about they're 8-3, but anytime they play teams like this, they tend to lose. This is a big game for Cleveland. If they were to win this game on the road at Tennessee, I might take them a little bit more seriously. On that note, I'm taking Tennessee, and I'll ask you this. If Cleveland wins this game, you said you're already kind of taking them seriously. Would this help that at all?
Yes, because of the team that they're playing, Tennessee. They're not a bad team. They are a playoff caliber team that has played a good schedule, of course, and is doing well. And then this one will be a good stepping stone for them, like morale rise, and then just to be like, oh, we beat Tennessee. We should be able to beat somebody else. Like no one's saying that they'll beat the Chiefs, but I think they could beat I think they could beat a team like Tennessee. I'm leaning towards picking Cleveland this week, just because I feel like Tennessee's defense has been shit, and I think that they're easy to run on, and that's all Cleveland needs to do. I still think of it as a toss-up. I have Cleveland winning by 3, but I wouldn't be surprised if they were to beat Tennessee. And if Tennessee won, I wouldn't be surprised because they're the favorites.
Yeah, it's a big game for both, especially as far as seeding. And you do have the Colts. They split. The Tennessee did beat them last week pretty easily. But the thing about it is they split. So it's very significant that Tennessee keeps the foot on the gas and not just let up because the Colts they beat the Colts last week because conference record's going to come into play, divisional record's going to come into play. So this is big for playoffs as well. So it'll be interesting to see how this goes. Now, Bakley, this is what I call the shitter of the week. So we watched the Bears offense play Monday. I think Green Bay tried a ton of new plays. I just think Rodgers quit giving a shit after having, 4 touchdowns in the first half. I have Detroit because anybody is better than who Chicago has on their offense right now, and their defense seems to have given up. And their coach, who's terrible, by the way, calls out his team this week. So how do you think that's going to work out?
I got Detroit in this. They fired Matt Patricia, and which was long overdue. He's a great defensive coordinator, but not a good head coach. And I've always been I'm a Florida guy, so of course I'm not going to like a Georgia player, but I am a fan of Stafford, and he's gotten the short end of the stick there in Detroit because he's a great player. He just always plays from behind because they can't get to manage the team well. Like it's either he's doing good or the running game's doing good. They started to get the running game going, but then he had COVID or was in touch with somebody who had COVID, so then he couldn't play for a week. And then the defense has had a bunch of issues. When you think Matt Patricia, you would have thought that he would have gotten that all fixed up, but he hasn't. And that's mainly probably why Darius Slay left in the offseason. So, but even with that, the Bears' offense has been so bad that it's hard to pick them, even with that great defense that they have. The defense is going to be out there a lot because of 3 and outs, and then they're eventually just going to wear down, and then Detroit is going to win it. They have a few playmakers, and then their running game's great.
I think Allen Robinson's going to be a Patriot next year. He's a free agent. That's just my gut.
I wouldn't be surprised.
A lot of teams, he's very underrated. He's very underappreciated. I think he'd be a great fit. New England's going to have some cash to burn. I don't really got much to say. I will not be watching this game. I will not be watching this game. I got David Montgomery playing in fantasy this week. I don't care. Like I said, boring. And it's sad. This game makes me sad because I wanted to see Burrow versus Tua. I wanted to see Burrow versus Tua. This is going to be the rivalry, right? Did the Bengals make a mistake because Tua was the number one guy? 2 years ago, Tua was the guy until last year when Burrow had the greatest college football season in history and deservedly so jumped to the number one pick. Miami's going to win. The Bengals defense is awful. Miami can't run the ball though, so this could be closer than you think because Brandon Allen, who's played because Ryan Finley's god awful. He played a good game last week. Granted, the Giants aren't very good either, even though they are in first in the NFC East. But I got the Dolphins running away here.
Yeah, I got the Dolphins getting this. I'm not sure if Tua is playing yet or not. That they haven't really said too much. As long as he's healthy, he should, because they said that he's the starter unless he can't play. But with him, it's a lot of the running game. I feel like whoever's been in has done a great job. They had Ahmed. They had the guy right before him. I forget his name. Gaskins. He did well. Breda gets mixed in a little bit. But the big thing with Miami that they've done that's been a plus has they finally got Jazicki involved this year. He's been really great. He had that nice catch against the Jets. And it's great to see that he's shown his talent in Miami. And I just think that there would be too much for a team like Cincinnati, who's just their morale is just low after losing Joe Burrow. He showed great flashes in that 3-game span, and you're like, this kid's going to be something. And then for him to get that part out from right behind him, and then now he's out for basically, who knows, probably all next year for all we know.
It's sad. I was a big, as you know, I was a big Joe Burrow guy. Suck it, Crogan. I told him, our boy Alex told him on a game-winning drive earlier this year, he's going to be a beast. He still will be better than Baker Mayfield. I think he's better with one leg. Anyway, Jacksonville at Minnesota. I always call these the Dave Prince games. Our boy's big Vikings fan.
Yeah.
Good news for him is he's playing a team that doesn't want to win. They starting a guy that actually didn't they start Mike Glennon last week over Jake Luton, and Mike Glennon actually played pretty well. Dalvin Cook or Derrick Henry is the debate of who's the better back. Derrick Henry said Dalvin is. I'm leaning toward Dalvin as well because he catches the ball out of the backfield better. I think Dalvin Cook just unloads on this defense. Kirk Cousins can use Jefferson. Maybe he gets Thielen back. Justin Jefferson looks like he's going to be a star. They did a great job drafting him to replace Stephon Diggs, who they ended up getting a couple nice picks for. Hopefully they can turn into something. But I got Minnesota winning this one relatively easy, too. I think Dalvin Cook could get damn near 200 yards in this game.
Yeah, I got Dalvin Cook having a great game, and the Vikings winning it handily. But I will say it'll be tight early because one thing the Jags do well is play defense, and then they drafted a very good running back in James Robinson. He's been I do like Robinson. He's been a surprise, but he just seems to get 50 yards very easily in the first quarter, and then they start getting blown out, and then they have to go away from him. So, and that's why I got the Vikings. I think they run the ball, and then Jefferson has his day. They don't even have to use Adam Thielen.
No, I wouldn't push him back if he's not ready. If
No.
he is, obviously put him in. It's my upset. Houston's going to beat the Colts, and I know that Will Fuller just got suspended for taking steroids, and so did Bradley Roby, which he wasn't. I mean, he started, but it's not big of a loss to Will Fuller. I think they still got plenty of firepower. The kid Atkins at tight end has been playing really well. Deshaun Watson's a stud, dude. Deshaun Watson, I can't believe he still signed that contract extension, because if he didn't, we could potentially be talking about New England pursuing this guy, because that was a hot rumor, and they were the odds-on favorites going into this season for him to be the quarterback of going into 2021. Then he goes and signs that monster deal, even with Bill O'Brien being the head coach, which shows that Deshaun Watson was obviously on some kind of drug or drunk when he signed that deal, which – all joking aside, that's a lot of money. He loves the area. I can respect that. But I got Houston winning. I think that loss last week for the Colts really hurts them. It just kind of sucked all the energy out of the room. Phillip Rivers is not playing particularly well. After last week's loss, how far do you think the Colts can go, assuming they actually get into the playoffs? Because there's scenarios where they don't even get off. But if the Colts reach their potential, how far do you think they can go in the postseason? Because our boy Drew said they were a dark horse Super Bowl team earlier this year.
The big if with them is if they get the running game going, which 1 week they do, 1 week they don't. And the main guy there is Jonathan Taylor. 2 weeks ago, he had a great game. He started running the ball.
Trust me, I got him in fantasy. It's annoying as hell.
It's boom or bust, and that leads with him. But then again, also the defense. The defense has been one of the top defenses, and then this past week they drew a goose egg. They did really bad, and then they had to go away from the running game, which they discovered, and then they had to pass more because they were behind, which. As age, Phillip Rivers, I think, needs to limit what he does. He can't be gunslinging it 40, 50 times. He needs to do it like 20, 25 times is the realistic thing. And then you run the ball with the running backs that they have, because they have 2-3 good running backs, and all of them do different things. It reminds me of the Eagles a few years ago when they had those 3 running backs that they had in there. You had a different guy for a different situation.
Yep.
But you have to be able to manage the game well on both sides. And if they're able to do that, of course, they're a dark horse team, but they need to make the playoffs first. And they have to win. And to do that, they got to run the ball and stay with that. That's the bread and butter. And then every now and then you do play action, because Rivers still can throw, but he makes a lot of mistakes when he has to throw too much.
He does. It seems like when the situation gets bigger, he makes a bigger mistake. I just don't trust him. I didn't really see them as a playoff team. I love Drew, but I think he has that sentimental feeling towards Phillip Rivers, kind of pushed him into that decision because he's a lifelong Chargers fan. I don't see him going very far. I think if they make it, they get knocked out in the first round. Speaking of things that don't deserve our time, neither of these teams are actually that good, apparently, because the Raiders just got annihilated by the Falcons. The Jets suck, so we're just going to skip over that. The Jets are equivalent to a JV girls basketball team, and they would beat them. Yes, I said basketball.
Yes.
That wasn't me screwing up. A JV girls basketball team would beat the Jets. Going from the worst team in New York to the best team, apparently, the New York Giants, who are now in first place. Truzel, I got the Jets upsetting the Raiders. Dude, I thought about it, but I don't want to be that guy. Man. I hate the Jets. And Truesdale, it's been my running joke all year, even in my articles that I wrote. It's the Jets. Not wasting my time. Jets lose. As a Patriots fan, I just hope they go winless, because that franchise deserves nothing better. I got Seattle. How big of a loss is Danny Dimes it's your division? So I mean, Andy Dalton's nothing to write home about. Carson Wentz, not sure what's going on. Alex Smith, I mean, is probably the best quarterback in the division at this point, I would think, and he's coming off 58 surgeries.
Yeah.
So how big of a loss in the long run is Danny Dimes? Because the Giants have looked like the best team in this division for at least the last month.
I guess for the fact of making the playoffs, it's a big loss, because they could play bad and still make it. but in the total scale of things, it's a huge loss because they weren't playing well to begin with. They do have the best defense overall in the division. I think Washington has the best defensive line, but overall defense, I think the Giants have played better on that side. But it's the age-old thing. Danny Dimes does great, but then he makes so many mistakes as well. It's like you take 3 steps up and then 3 steps back, so you're back at square one because of the mistakes he makes. So you got a guy like Colt McCoy that'll come in. He'll manage the game. He'll probably just feed the ball to Goldman.
Colt McCoy. He's still around. Yeah. Wow.
And then he'll try and get Evan Ingram in more. But in the grand scale of things, they're never going to be contenders. Yeah, they're going to either get in or Washington's going to get in, and then they're going to host the game and then lose. So
yeah, because they would be playing who is it? So the 5 seed right now. So that 4 seed, that 5 seed in the NFC is what everybody wants, right? Because they'll be playing that NFC East winner. So right now, that would be the Rams.
The Rams? They're over Tampa?
Yeah, Tampa's 7-5. The Rams are 7-4. Tampa's on a bye this week.
That can make sense now. So yeah, even so, you don't want to face the Rams without our offense has been, even with the mistakes they've made lately, they still can put up 40 or 50 on you just because of the game planning. So it would be better for them to lose Daniel Jones. I'm not saying on purpose, but then having a 6th pick in the draft or having pick 20.
Well, yeah, you don't got Saquon Barkley.
Yeah.
Saquon's out. The defense is good. They just have to get more weapons on the offense. But, dude, looking at the NFC, I didn't realize if the Cardinals lose and the Vikings win, the Vikings would technically be in the playoffs.
If you look at it, too, if San Fran were to win, they'd be in at 6-6.
Yeah, that's NFC still open. Still open. Speaking of the Rams, they're playing the Cardinals. Kyler Murray's been pretty rough the last 2 weeks. The Rams defense, 1 week it looks dominant. Then you have a game like last week where Nick Mullins lights them up. I think Kyler breaks out of his slump, and I have them winning this game, which would really shake things up because I put them both at 7-5. I still think that division's getting 3 teams in because obviously Seattle, Arizona, and the Rams, I think all get in because I don't trust the Bears or the 49ers, especially the Bears. I don't know if they'll win another game, but I got Arizona.
Yeah, I actually got the Rams here because of how Arizona has been playing lately. They just don't seem the same, and I think Arizona, their biggest threat is Hopkins, and I feel like the Rams could easily cut him with Ramsey. Ramsey's played pretty well, and they just lock him on him and let their other weapons try and beat him. And I feel like this is a game that the Rams could steal and keep their lead because I think they're leading the West, right? Or is Seattle?
Seattle's a game up. Okay. Seattle's 8-3, Rams 7-4, but the Rams hold the tiebreaker.
Yes, and I feel like the Rams could steal this one and then keep Arizona on their losing streak that they've been on.
It was such a big loss for them to lose to the Niners last week, and that'd be the second time they've lost to them this year. And it's funny because New England plays them in 2 weeks on Thursday Night Football, so it's going to be very interesting. New England, Chargers, worries me, not because it's in LA, because Herbert can put up points, and our defense sometimes looks great. Like last week, it looked really good. Stephon Gilmore held Hopkins in check, and we had 5 catches for 55 yards. We bent, but didn't break. But Herbert is a baller. Eckler's back. That scares me. They'll be able to dump the ball out. He'll break our linebackers' ankles. We have big linebackers that cannot tackle in space. I think this is a close, like 24-21, 24-20 kind of game. I got us squeaking it out. I'm sick of picking against New England, and then they win. Because I picked against them last week. They won. Yeah. I picked against them a few weeks ago, and they also won. So I was tempted to pick against them because apparently that's when they win. But I think they'll beat the Chargers, and I don't want to hear Drew shit talking. So I'm taking New England.
I got that score, but I got it flipped. I got the Chargers winning. I think the New England will be leading, and then Herbert will come down late and then score a touchdown to put him ahead. And then I feel like Cam Newton will have a shot at the end, and then he'll fumble it away again.
That would break my heart.
And then the Chargers will win. But I think it will be a really competitive game because how the Chargers defense is missing a lot of pieces, and that'll hurt them. Like their offensive will do well, but I think New England will control the clock for some of the game.
Yeah, Damian Harris, and I think they're saying Sonny Michel might be finally active this week. And they're getting James White more integrated. I mean, Rex Burkhead's out till next year. It'd be a good game. Obviously, I'm watching it. All right, Bakley, your Eagles, they pull off the upset because I don't have it. I apologize, but you guys are going to Green Bay this week.
I think we lose out the rest of the year. I got Green Bay by like 25 points. Unless the defense plays like they did the last night. There's too many
Defense
too many
played
issues.
really well last night.
Yeah.
The offense just looks lost.
Like you got a coach who doesn't know how to game scheme his wide receivers. They only run 3 different routes. They never do slants. They never do curves, and they never do posts. So teams can game plan against 3 different routes on the route tree for wide receivers. And on top of that, because they're doing that, the wide receivers can't get open. Our offensive line's already in shambles because we're missing 3 key guys. So Carson Wentz doesn't have that much time to throw on top of that. Then all of a sudden you're not running the ball when you need to run it. You had a 1st and 5, I think, in the second quarter, and the first 3 plays were thrown. You got a guy that averages 6 yards a carry, and you don't use him. So then
it baffles me that you guys don't use Miles Sanders more.
No, and you do have weapons that came back, but it's like I can blame Wentz a little bit for like some like short throws that he misses because he's trying to do too much. But then at the same time, it's like he's trying to do too much because he has to. Because if he doesn't, they're going to lose.
Yeah, the reality of your situation is you're not getting rid of Wentz, at least for 2 or 3 more years. So they need to make it work however they have to. His cap hits, I think, are $31 and $34 million the next 2 years. And if they cut him, they'd have to pay him like 80. It'd be like an $80 million cap hit or something.
Actually, it's in 2022, if you cut him then, it doesn't hit you against the cap. It's all dead cap space.
Yeah, see, that's still
2020
rough.
And 2022. So it's rough there, but yeah, so it's rough there in that mindset, but then it doesn't go against your actual overall where you have minus. It's just the dead cap.
They got to make it work. They got to try to make it work with them.
I think they need to take the play calling off of Doug Peterson, put it on Deuce Staley because he'll run the ball more. And if that doesn't happen, then I hate to say it, but I would fire Doug Peterson. But fire Peterson, and then right now I would fire Howie Roseman because since 2014 we have 1 Pro Bowl from 2014 on, and that's Carson Wentz. Well, he hasn't been drafting well.
No, I mean, you guys picked J.J. Whiteside over DK Metcalf, which New England didn't do much better. We picked N'Keal Harry, and then they picked Jalen Reagor over Justin Jefferson. So, I mean,
which I honestly, it didn't bother me too much because I feel like if we drafted them, they wouldn't be doing well either because of the game planning.
That's how I feel. Yeah. Everybody's like, New England could have had Metcalf. It's like, but I feel like Belichick would just have him on the bench because they'd ever trust rookie receivers. And I feel like Brady would have treated him like shit last year, just like he did all the other rookies. This one's going to be all Denver's quarterbacks tested negative today, so they're all eligible to play, so it won't be a shit show like last week. Shout out to the shit show girls, but this is still going to be a shit show because the Chiefs are going to blow out Denver. It doesn't matter if Drew Lock is playing. It doesn't matter who is it, Blake Bortles. It doesn't matter who it is. Pat Shurmur's son, Molly Shurmur's son, whoever Shurmur's son. Kansas City's winning this one big. I don't know if Kansas City loses again. They play New Orleans later this year on the 20th of December, I think. that's the only game I think they could possibly lose. I think Kansas City might win out, and I still expect them to be the number 1 seed because Pittsburgh's going to lose a few games, I think, here coming up.
Yeah, I got the Chiefs winning this one big, and I have Tyreek Hill continuing his tear. He's been, to me, the number 1 wide receiver in the league because of his speed. You can't cover him like that. Other than was it Jonathan Jones that you said?
Jonathan Jones. It makes no sense why he's the guy. But like when New England plays Kansas City, you would think, well, Gilmore is going to guard. It's like, no, he's too fast. Gilmore is a physical guy. He's not a burner. Jonathan Jones is fast. He's just Jonathan Jones gives way too much cushion. But for some reason, when he plays Hill, he really does well. I remember a playoff game a few years ago. He only had like 4 catches for 44 yards, and I'll take that any day of the week. BCS people, that's what I keep looking up at. Bama, the top 6 is getting released right now. So Bama's still at 1, obviously. Notre Dame stays at 2. Clemson stays at 3. And Ohio State sticks at 4, even though they did not play this week. A&M came in at 5 at 6-1, and Florida is number 6 at 7-1. Ryan Day won't coach this week, but they're expecting to play a game against Michigan State and then Michigan. I'm honestly hoping the Michigan game gets canceled, but that's just me as a Michigan fan.
Yeah, that bothers me because you don't play this. So it was kind of like Alabama earlier moved to 1 because they didn't play, and then Clemson lost to Notre Dame, but Notre Dame was 4. So wouldn't you just move Notre Dame to 1, and then Alabama stays at 2, but you move them up, and then Notre Dame moved up maybe, I think, 1 spot after being the number 1 team.
I don't know. If Ohio State has one more game canceled, I don't think they're in the top 4.
Yeah. They had 2 games canceled, and then they struggled to win against Indiana. They blew that lead, and then they barely held on to a team that just lost their starting quarterback.
Well, you as a Florida fan, you need to go in and beat Bama at the SEC championship game is going to be your way in.
Yeah, and we actually had better odds than Texas A&M because we're in that game.
Well, yeah, you will. A&M's just there. That'll be interesting. Michigan, they're ranked like 608th on this BCS poll, so we're not going to talk about them. Washington and Pittsburgh. So Pittsburgh's playing 2 games in like 5 days, but they're playing Washington. I think this will be a close game because obviously the travel and stuff. No, it ain't even that bad. They're playing in Pittsburgh tomorrow, and this game's in Pittsburgh. So I think Pittsburgh will win this one. And, God, dude, I got every team in your division losing this week, which will mean every team will have 8 losses except your team. Well, they might because you have the tie. So, like, every team in your division's probably going to be under 500. And one of them's going to win the division. But I got Pittsburgh winning this game, barring some crazy COVID outbreak or something.
Crazy may sound, I got Washington in this. I think Pittsburgh's bound for a slip-up. I don't think they're going to go undefeated. And I think this is.
It wouldn't hurt my feelings.
No. So I think Washington has the formula. Gibson has been great the past few weeks. He's been a godsend for him, just the way he runs the ball. He had 3 touchdowns against the Cowboys. He killed them. They've been killing it with defense and then running the ball. And then Logan Thomas has been a surprise at tight end for them. And then Terry McLaurin, Ohio State product, has been a top 5 wide receiver this year, minus the touchdowns. He's 3rd in the league with 965 yards. He catches everything that goes to him, no matter the quarterback that's there, because they're on the 3rd quarterback. And Alex Smith has been, the past week or 2, has been trying to limit his mistakes. And I think that he could limit them against Pittsburgh and upset them. I think that it's bound for it, especially since Pittsburgh is going to have a big game right now against the Ravens. Minus people that they've been waiting an extra week to play it, and then they're going to have to go back out in 5-6 days and play Washington. I think that benefits them.
Yeah, and Washington's been off since Thanksgiving as well, so they have a full 10 days off.
Yep. Wouldn't
surprise me. Pittsburgh has the tendency to play down to their opponent, which is why I picked Baltimore, because I felt like they were desperate. But if Lamar didn't have COVID and was not missing this game, I would stick with my Baltimore pick, but they're missing too many parts.
Yeah.
This is a trap game for Buffalo if there ever was one. I still got them winning. I think it's a close game. One thing Kyle Shanahan can do is get his team to play well with over $100 million and players on the IR. I really think this game's really close. And but I still think Buffalo sneaks this one out. I need them to lose, even though New England's division chances really aren't there as much.
Yeah.
It's not impossible, but Buffalo would really have to start losing. Aaron Truesdale says, I think we should lose a game, so the pressure's off into the playoffs. Yeah, you will. There's a couple. I thought Pittsburgh might have lost to Dallas because they played down. Pittsburgh just has a tendency, some games they just are like, whatever, and they don't play to their full potential. Then you see them come out, hey, the Browns are for real, and then the Pittsburgh annihilates them. They beat the brakes off Tennessee until they let them sneak back in. I mean, they got Baltimore eventually. They play the Bills next week, or the week after this one in Week 14 at Buffalo. Looks like a Sunday night game or a Saturday night game. I don't know what the 13th is. But and then they play the Bengals, the Colts, and the Browns. So they could – between the Bills, Colts, and Browns, I could see them losing one or two games. The problem is Kansas City's sitting there with one loss, and I don't know if they're going to lose again. So that'll be interesting.
Do they play? Do they play the Steelers now?
No.
No. They played the Ravens. That's who it was.
Yeah, Kansas City's toughest game left is New Orleans.
Who has the tiebreaker with one loss?
I think it'd be – well, it depends. If Pittsburgh loses one game in the AFC, I think Kansas City would have – let me look.
No, actually, it might be tied because Kansas City's one loss was in their division to Oakland. I mean, not Oakland, Las Vegas. So they would both have one conference loss. So then it would be, I think, head-to-head, and then I forget what it is after that. So –
yeah, it would be conference record, then division. So it would depend where the Steelers' losses come from. If they lose to Baltimore, it'll be interesting. That one seed's up for grabs. Aaron, good looking out. He said it's a Sunday night game. That's a good Sunday night game. I hope it's not the same night as a WWE. I don't think TLC's that night. That might be a game I'll actually tune in for.
Yeah.
But here you go, Bakley. It's your chance to bash on your favorite team. Dallas and Baltimore. I really don't know what Baltimore is going to look like by then, and I don't even know when this game's going to be played. But I'm picking Baltimore because I want to keep my record looking good for this year.
I'm picking Baltimore. I think Jackson will be back by then. And then if there's anything great for me to feel good about this year, it's with how bad we've been playing. I feel like Dallas has been playing worse because of all the weapons on offense. Their defense was going to be bad no matter what, but they paid all this money for the offense. Granted, Dak got hurt, but even then, they were still playing bad because they were always coming back from behind.
Well, he was doing everything. It was all Dak.
It was all Dak. Like I said before, Lamb's going to be a great player, but I think he was the wrong pick at that spot. But I know why they did it because the playmaker Lamb is, but knowing that they had three defensive players leaving and then they go and pick a wide receiver anyway with all the money that they put towards the team, and then they lost three linemen just like the Eagles did. But at this point, they were still supposed to be doing well, and they only had 1-2 wins at that point. When Dak was throwing like crazy, but there's no way. I could see them maybe upsetting if Lamar Jackson's not there, but I still pick Baltimore.
All right, I'm gonna end this with this. You're an Eagles fan, so you're not gonna want Dallas to be fixed. I'm gonna fix them. I pitched this to my dad the other night, and he was like, "You're nuts." Then he thought about it, and he's like, "Yeah, it would work." Here's what I would do if I was Dallas. You keep Mike McCarthy. There's no reason to fire him this year. It's COVID. You're missing, like you just said, you're missing half your offense. You're missing half your team. Your defense isn't that great. It's been playing better, but it's not that great. I'm not saying don't play to win. I'm just saying don't be heartbroken if you don't win, because you could be looking at a Justin Fields or your guy from Florida, depending on how he skyrockets up draft boards, or Trey Lance. You draft one of them guys. Or you call Jacksonville and you're like, or the Jets, you're like, listen, I'll give you Dak Prescott, the 5th pick, and Amari Cooper for the 1st pick. And the Jets would be dumb to say no. Yeah. Plus, you probably throw in a 3, a 4, whatever, to make that points thing work that they do with the draft board. Then you draft Trevor Lawrence. what did you just do? You saved your team $56 million because Cooper's a $30 or $20 million cap hit, and Dak's probably going to get paid 33 to 36, coming off a major injury, by the way. Will the Jets do it? People are going to be like, the Jets will never do it. They are the New York Jets, the same Jets that had Mark Sanchez for years, and the same Jets that hired Adam Gase, and some reason he still has a job. So then there you go. You have $56 million of cap room to spend. You fix your line. You have to sign some linemen. Zach Martin's your only credible lineman left. Collins is all right. You reshuffle that a little bit. You spend this money on defense. Like you said about C.D. Lamb. C.D. Lamb's going to be fine. Michael Gallup's going to be fine. Hell, number 11, I don't even know his name, but he's number 11 on Dallas. Craig Wilson, I think, playing well. The guy from Ohio State, Devin Smith, I think's his name. Then you'll get Jarwin back next year. You still got Schultz, who kind of broke out. You got Pollard. Yeah. The weapons are there. Get the young guy. Rebuild your defense around Lawrence and Van Der Esch and Smith. Get some corners. Build that team up. Make it a defensive team. Use Zeke Elliott. They're trying to, and he won't hold on to the damn ball. You just have to bank on you're stuck with the guy. I looked at his cap. They can't cut him. They can't trade him because they'd be in for a massive cap hit. They're stuck. That's what they get for paying a running back $16 million. It's not what you do. But you have to make this a defensive team. Build it with McCarthy's image. Or option two, you give Dak $30 million. You keep Cooper. You have no money to spend. You keep the same relative roster. They struggle again because even before Dak got hurt, I know we're in this sentimental stage with Dak. Oh, my God, he got hurt. I feel bad for him. I want him to come back. I do too. But let's not forget that the Cowboys weren't sold on this guy before he got hurt either. They just fired Jason Garrett to see, well, was Garrett the problem or is it Dak? We might never know because they both might be gone. If I was Dallas, it depends on my draft position, but I am not ignoring any option you have. And I know Jerry Jones is like super old and he wants to win a Super Bowl now, but it's just not happening. He needs to let Steven do more of the decision-making and Mike McCarthy. And I think Dallas is going to look a lot different next year.
They draft well. His son does well drafting, which is a good plus. They just don't know how to sign players at the right time. That's the Eagles are the opposite. The Eagles haven't been drafting well, but they've been signing players at the right time, right before they hit their peak, and then they get them long term. So when they fix things or when they bring more guys in, it's not as bad. That's what they've done. They even got Wentz early, right when he came back from injury, and they got him for a cheaper price. Whereas the Cowboys could have had that, but they waited, and then his stock went up higher. So now he's cost more. I think what they should do is trade Cooper. He cost $20 million. Try and trade him. A team or bite on him because they don't really need him. Because they got Gallup at a good deal right now, and then they got Lamb on a rookie deal. So if you get rid of Cooper, you got those two, and then you got the two tight ends who are on small deals right now. I think they're both on rookie deals.
Well, Jarwin got an extension, but it wasn't nothing crazy. It was it was $5 to $6 million, which is he's a pretty good player, and I think he's going to actually get better. Like him and Schultz, there's a really good tight end tandem.
And then if you could get rid of Dak, you don't have to trade him. You can try and trade him, but if you can't, if you don't sign him this year, you can just let him walk because you'd save $40 million by doing so. So $40 million and $20 million, that's over $60 million because you're going to have to address the line because Frederick's retired. You just had Collins got hurt. Martin's hurt right now, but your line's not getting any younger. They're not getting any younger. Martin's the one guy that they have, and then Collins he's young, but you don't know what you have in him yet. You don't know if you're sold on him because of how he was playing. And then Tyron Smith, him too. Like he's either great or he's a liability because of the calls and the injuries. So eventually they're going to have to address the line, and you're not going to be able to when you're paying $40 million to a quarterback, $20 million to a receiver. You're already paying like 20-something million to Zach Martin, I think. And you're going to have to pay Lamb and Gallup sooner or later. And then that's not even including the defense, which has been a problem because you don't have any money to put towards the defense.
Yeah, that's why I think Cooper and Dak are going to be two guys. I mean, that's damn near $60 million.
Yeah. You could do that. You could do that. You're going to have a top 5 pick right now. You could probably draft a quarterback or look to see what you have in free agency and then draft a lineman. And then you use extra money to plug in your defense to try and improve the back end of the defense.
Yeah, Dallas, one thing over the years they don't have issues with is getting players to come play for them because they are the Cowboys and they still have that prestige. Like, they're the Dallas Cowboys. People love to come and play for them. It's just how it's always been. They're the Cowboys. That's what they do. That people want to play for the star. It is what it is. I've been raised around it my whole life. But it'd be interesting. But I know for this year, I think they're done. And we'll see you next year, Dallas. Dad, still invite me over for football. Don't throw me off. But, yeah, this brings us to the end. Really good show, very football heavy. We're going to get more into college basketball starting up. My Wildcats lost to Richmond Saturday, and now they play Kansas tonight. They're probably going to lose again. College football is getting toward the playoff, so we'll get more involved into that next week. Got some bigger games coming up this week, especially coming up toward championship week soon. NBA free agency is pretty much dead. Me and Bakley covered that a few weeks ago. It's kind of at a dry spell unless we see maybe James Harden get moved. Hockey's Archie, our boy at the Buzz, he's got us covered in hockey. They were talking about having a 48-game season, I think is what he said earlier. So you got that going on. A lot of big stuff.
They're looking to get started in early January. That's what they're eyeing right now.
Yeah, so I'm a diehard hockey fan. Go Penguins. And I'm pretty sure the Maple Leafs are really bad, but that's all I know about hockey. But anyway, thank you guys for tuning in. Bakley, thank you for being on.
Yeah, thank you.
A couple things before we go. Not a joke. Last week, Tyson Kidd did not make it. Thanksgiving and whatnot. Tomorrow, it's not tomorrow. Thursday. I don't know why I put tomorrow. I'm not a professional podcaster. I can't even set up the banners right. Tyson Kidd will be on regularly scheduled hostilities this Thursday, 6 o'clock Eastern time, right here on the Buzz's Facebook, Twitter, or the RSH Twitter. He will be giving his NXT TakeOver predictions for this Sunday, and we will break down everything from SmackDown to NXT tomorrow and get predictions. And we're going to ask him what his thoughts on The Undertaker are and the legacy that he left with Tyson Kidd. I've seen a bunch of pictures on Instagram and his Twitter of him and his wife, Natalia, talking to The Undertaker. So it'll be interesting to get his feedback there. And then here in about 30 minutes, I will be on a podcast with Nikki Starr and one of his buddies. Name's slipping me right now. I apologize. We'll be talking the influence rock and roll had on professional wrestling as far as the Kiss character WCW tried to portray. Chris Jericho, musicians that came from wrestling, musicians that have hosted Raw, like when Ozzy Osbourne was there, Alice Cooper at Mania, fun stuff like that. You can catch that in about 30 minutes on that Arena of Rock Show's Facebook page, and I will be sharing it to the Buzz Facebook page, which you can find at WTB.com. You can catch me there in about a half hour or so. Then you got Game Winning Drive tomorrow at 9 Eastern. Marital Nonsense Friday with Ben and Danae at 7 o'clock. Then Between the Pipes with our hockey expert Archie, 7:30 on Friday. He'll get you ready on if there's going to be a season, if so, in what capacity. And I think that's it for our shows. Now we got a loaded lineup. Stand Your Ground. If you didn't see it, check that out. Benison and his boys crushed it yesterday, talking about football from over the pond. A lot of good stuff at the Buzz. Go to the socials. It's in the info. It's at the bottom by my name. Manscaped, DB 2020, 20% off and free shipping. Check out the cool shirt. Make your testes your besties, all that fun stuff. Play with it in the shower. You won't get electrocuted. It's fun. It's great.
Yep.
Yeah. Bakel, you got anything to say before we say goodbye?
No, I'm just saying, just keep supporting us. Like you said, new platform, same podcast. We love bringing it to you. And if Tyson Kidd goes undefeated in his picks, I'm calling Vince McMahon.
Yeah, the Wednesday night championship, which is now vacant, is not on the line because Tyson Kidd might have inside information, but we'll deal with that at a later time. Thank you guys for tuning in. Really appreciate we had a hell of a we were popping there for a little while. Aaron Truesdale, really appreciate you tuning in, dude. Keep the comments going. Thank you very much. We appreciate that. Follow us at WTB.com. We're coming fast. Get on the train before it leaves you. I'm Josh. That's Bakley. We'll see you later. Have a great night.